So welcome friends once again. So in previous classes we have seen some applications of web applications and internet applications. So today we will see through few more topics that are in your web applications chapter. And so today we will try to look at remote login, and if time permits we'll also discuss DNS, that is the domain name space and domain name server. Okay, so let's move on. So first, remote login. What is remote login? What actually is remote? Okay, so remote means generally, if you in English, okay, a remote village, generally they say a remote village, or I come from a remote village, or that village is a remote village. Remote means where most of the people don't know about that village, or it does not have proper transportation facilities, or most of the people don't have any idea about that village. Okay, so such villages are known as remote village. So remote login means remote, you are login, okay, you are entering into a remote place, means your system does not know where the other system is. They cannot see each other, they cannot see each other. Okay, so that is a remote login. So uh, in a polished way, or in a as a definition of remote login, this is the definition of a remote login: a login that allows a user terminal to connect to a host computer via a network or telecommunication link, and to interact with the host computer as if the user terminal were directly connected to the host directly connected to that host. So that means, for example, today if you are sitting in some place, and if you are able to control the system of your friend who is sitting in somewhere else, okay, your friend is sitting in his room and you are sitting in your room, and if you are able to control your friend's system or friend's PC or laptop, then such thing is known as remote login. Okay, so generally if there is no remote login in normal practice, in a normal operation of a mobile phone or your computer, you will be giving your inputs from your keyboard or from your mouse. You'll be giving input from your keyboard or mouse. But in remote login, the you will not be moving your cursor or your mouse, or you will not be entering the commands from your keyboard, but it will be entered from other computer. Okay, so the person who is sitting from somewhere is able to control your system your system. Okay, so such situation or such thing is known as remote login. But don't worry, in remote login only your system can be only controlled if you want the other person to control your system. So suppose if I am here, and only if I want to control your, if I want to control your PC, that means I want to enter commands from here, and I can open browser on your computer, I can open some folders on your computer. But that is only possible if you give me permission. If you don't give me permission, I cannot log in into your system, or I cannot do anything. Okay, so a remote login is a uh, it is an application where the other person has to give access. Other person has to give access. He should be ready to accept the other person to enter into his system, then only it is possible. Okay, so it is not something like hacking and not like that things. Okay, those are different applications. But remote login application is where the other party has to accept the communication channel or the connection. Okay, so that is the thing. So generally, what is the purpose of a remote login? What is the purpose of a remote login? So for example, whenever you bring any hardware, okay, whenever you connect any hardware to your computer, whenever you connect any hardware to your computer, sometimes it requires to be configured. Sometimes it requires to be configured. So so the problem is, even after multiple attempts, you're not expert. See, for example, I brought a hardware, some printer or some scanner, and I'm not expert in that. I'm not expert in that. I don't know how to connect. I just connect it, but I just plug the USB, but uh, I'm unable to get the get it working. Okay, get that printer working. Okay, it is unable to function properly. Okay, so now I only have one choice. That choice is to call the person who is expert. Okay, to call the person who is expert in handling my issue. Okay, who is handling my issue, or if it shows some error. Okay, so for example, it is giving me some steps, and if I'm unable to follow, okay, so some software related installation or something, okay, some software related settings have to be done, but I'm unable to do it. So the only option left with me is now I have to call a person who is expert in it. I have to call a person who is expert in it and who can configure my system according to the who can configure the settings according to my system. Okay, but now the problem is, if the person is very far away, okay, suppose he is I brought this, it is a unique hardware, or it is a unique computer, and I brought it all the way from some that for example, the service center or the technical person is somewhere in Hyderabad, and he has to, if the person if the person has to if the problem has to be resolved, the person has to come all the way from Hyderabad. Okay, but there is a simple solution. There is a some simple solution. That simple solution is the remote login. Okay, so you need to have any application. So TeamViewer is one of the very famous remote login application. Okay, so you need to have some applications. Okay, this remote login application, it should be installed on your system. It should be installed on your system. So it will be given, you will be given a login ID and a password. And okay, you'll be given a login ID and password, and whoever wants to enter into your system, they should know the login ID and password. Okay, so then only if you can give your login ID and password, then that person will be able to control your system. Okay, and don't worry, that password will not be always same. It keeps on changing. And it will be displayed on the screen on that application. Whenever you open, it will show you what is your password, so that the other person, if he enters that password, then only he will be able to connect to you. Okay, so that now the other person will have the login ID, and if he has that login ID and password, then only he can enter. Now if the now as I said, in your situation, now if you have to just give your login and password, your login ID and password, then once you give the login ID and password, he will be able to remotely control your computer. That means he can see your your window will appear on his screen. He can see what is your display like. Okay, and he will be able to he can, if he moves the cursor on his screen, that changes will be reflected on your system. Okay, now he can do whatever the settings that has to be done by remotely sitting at his place. He will be able to do configure all the settings, and so that now you will be able to work with your system. Okay, so this has practically happened to me. Okay, how remote login has practically happened to me. So when I was uh, working for this web online counselings, so some headset related counseling, so their printer configuration, all these things were very different. Okay, so there was one person at Hyderabad, and he has 23 districts to cover. So within, there are only 2 days or 1 day for counseling. Okay, so he cannot go to 23 districts. Okay, at that time, before bifurcation this was actually, so he cannot go to the 23 districts. Okay, so they used this TeamViewer. They used TeamViewer, and it takes some 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So he can give 10 minutes to each district or each helpline center. So thereby he need not move away from, he need not move from his Hyderabad to different districts. Okay, so this is an effective way. Okay, so here you can see we are there were many advantages. So even you don't have any technical knowledge, it is okay. The person who is at the location, if he does not have any technical knowledge, the expert can directly interact with the system instead of explaining him. Okay, once the settings are done, that settings are will remain for a long time for the entire counseling or for the entire different operation. Okay, so you need not worry. Okay, and you, there is no need of waiting for that person to come. Okay, how he will come to receive him, all these things are not there. Okay, it is an economical approach. Okay, so that is the thing. Now there are, so that is the concept of remote login, and that is the actual use of remote login. Okay, that has practical use. Okay, so even nowadays, even you are having a remote login, even your mobile phones. Okay, TeamViewer mobile app is also there. TeamViewer mobile app is also there, so you can control one mobile from another mobile, like that. Okay, so here there are some more different remote login applications. TeamViewer is one of them. LogMe in, Show My PC, and there are many more. Okay, so these are few examples of remote login applications. So by using these applications, you will be able to log into your friend's system, or your friend might be able to log into your system. Okay, so that is the thing. So in this way, you are able to remotely control. Okay, based upon your, from your commands, whatever the commands you enter from your keyboard, that will be reflected on other computer, not on your own computer. The that commands whatever you enter from your keyboard, see here, mm, here he is telling as if the user terminal were directly connected to it. What are terminals? Terminals are nothing but your inputs, where you are giving inputs. So your mouse clicks, your keyboard command strokes, all these things are inputs. Okay, so whatever inputs you give from one place, the effect will be on the other place. Okay, you are able to remotely do the operations. Okay, so that is the thing about remote login. That is the thing about remote login. Okay, so in, if whenever we meet, we'll try to do practically. Okay, we'll try to practically see how the things are being done, what are the credentials to be given, and how the setup of an this remote login application has to be done, and what are the credentials that should be given for a remote login application, and how does it work. Okay, we'll say practically. Okay, so that is the thing. Okay, so there are few steps for remote login. There are few steps for remote login, and here telnet is the application that performs remote login. Okay, so in previously we are having FTP for file transfer. Okay, to transfer a file, application layer protocol is FTP. So FTP takes care of transfer of files. FTP takes care of transfer of files. Okay, in a similar way, you are having DNS. So as I said, DNS. Oh, okay, we have not still. I have not explained DNS, right? So what are the other things I have explained? So FTP is for file transfer. Okay. So next, HTTP is for web browser, web server communication. Okay, protocol that takes care of an application layer protocol, or application layer protocol that takes care of communication between a web server and web browser. Or similarly, for a application of remote login. Okay, for application of remote login, the application layer protocol that we will be using is telnet. Okay, okay, the application layer protocol that is used for remote login application is telnet. Okay, the meaning of telnet is terminal networking. The meaning of telnet is terminal networking. Okay, so that means whatever the remote login you are doing, at the background your terminal networking will perform the operation so that you are able to perform remote login. So that you are able to perform remote login. Okay. So let us see how does a telnet operate. Okay. So here you can see this is the uh, operation. Here this is the operation of a telnet. Now here you are having, see here you are having a terminal. So this is the place from which you are controlling this system. So here this system is having a operating system, this system is having one operating system. Okay, this system is having a operating system and this system is having a operating system. Telnet is nothing but you are entering commands from here, and that commands will be executed on this computer. Okay, so from this computer you are giving inputs and the changes are reflected on this computer. The changes are reflected on this computer. Now sometimes at the earliest starting stages of your computer invention. Okay, so when the operating system was created, generally operating system was present at a single server. Operating system was present on single server and all the systems that were connected to it were using the operating system. Okay, now you are having, every system has its own operating system. Every system has its own operating system. Every system has its own operating system, but in the previous days, at the starting stages of invention of computer, at the starting stages of computer, at the starting stages of computer, your what the problem was, your operating system was stored in a server and all the systems were able to log into that server. All the systems have to remotely log into the server. So at that time they use this telnet. At that time they use this telnet. Okay, so this okay, so that is the thing. Okay, so so now here in operating system, so once please go through this please uh, go through this architecture. I will once again I will call try to come back to the video. లేదా ఒక రెండు నిమిషాలు అల్లాసన ఎందుకో కాల్ చేసి కాల్ చేయండి. ఇద్దరినా? సరే సరే సరే, అట్లనే ఒక్కసారి అప్పుడు పోయినప్పుడు అక్క వాళ్ళ ఇంటికి పోయి ల్యాప్టాప్ కూడా తెచ్చుకున్నాము. నిజాం పెట్టి స్టేయింగ్ ఏం లేదు, బయటకే నేను ల్యాప్టాప్ తీసుకొని రమ్మన్నా. అంతే అంతే, స్టేయింగ్ ఏం లేదు, స్టేయింగ్ ఏం లేదు, జస్ట్ ల్యాప్టాప్ తీసుకొస్తారు, తీసుకొని గేట్ దగ్గరే మనం బయట కమ్యూనిటీ దగ్గర గేట్ దగ్గర వెయిట్ చేస్తాం, తీసుకురామంటే తీసుకొని వచ్చేస్తాం. నా దగ్గర ఉన్నాయి ఆల్రెడీ. సరే, ఓకే. So, this is the telnet architecture, and sorry for the disturbance. Actually, there was some urgent requirement, so I was there is some slight pause in the video or some for some amount of time. Okay, so here uh, let us discuss the working of this telnet. Okay, now here, as I said, this is the architecture where when this system, okay, so this is the system, and and for this system this is the remote system, or here he has given a remote server machine. Okay, so this is the remote system and this is the actual system, and from this system, uh, this system will give input, and that input will be executed on this system. This system will give input, and that will be executed on this network, on this system. Okay, so that is the thing. Okay. So let us see, uh, let us see how this is done. Let us see how this is done. Okay. So first, see here, you can see this is a systematic approach of explanation of telnet. Here first, so here there are 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Okay, so that means what will happen in each step. So first this step, second this, third this, fourth this step, okay, fifth, in that way. Okay, so explanation is quite easy. Okay, so if you remember this diagram and if you are able to properly remember this 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, okay, so in 8 steps you will be able to, you are performing the remote login. In 8 steps you are performing the remote login. Okay, so now let us see. Okay, now let us see how the telnet operates. Okay, first, so in first step you will be, the commands will be given from the, in first step the command will be given from the uh, terminal. Okay, user terminal. Okay, so the first commands will be given from the user terminal. Okay, and uh, okay, so here the commands or the text. Okay, first the commands will be given from the user terminal. Okay, so at the user end, okay, at the user end, the user will give the command. Okay, he will enter the commands. Also that commands can be from your keyboard or from your mouse. Okay, so whenever the user is giving commands to the you through his keyboard or through his mouse, then that will go to the, that are sent to the operating system, that are sent to the operating system through terminal driver. Okay, so that are sent to the operating system through terminal driver. Okay, so you will have drivers. Okay, drivers for your keyboard, drivers for your mouse. Okay, the drivers from your keyboard and drivers from your mouse, they will accept the inputs, they will accept the input, and after accepting those input, it will give those input to the operating system, those commands to the operating system. Now here, generally, if it is a normal application, if it is a normal application, for example, your computer related application like media player. Okay, let us say some media player. There are different media players. Okay, if it is a media player, generally your operating system will take that call that application. It will call that application, and it will perform the operation. So when that is the thing. But here the operating system, it will not perform any operation, but it will handle the it will hand over the commands that are entered from the from your keyboard or from your mouse to telnet client software, to telnet client software. So whenever if you want to perform remote login, you need to have some sort of software on your system which can handle those commands. Okay, so you'll have telnet client software on your computer. So what happens, whenever from the terminal driver, whatever the commands you entered, that will be accepted by the terminal driver in the first step, and in second step, and it will be handed over to operating system. It will be handled by the terminal driver, and it will be handed over to the operating system. Now in the second step, the operating system, it will hand over the commands to the telnet client software. It will hand over the commands that are used to perform the remote login. Okay, so whenever you click on team viewer, okay, so for that, okay, at that time these things happen. Whenever you are after establishing the connection, okay, if you are using mouse connection, if you are moving mouse on your computer, that will not be happening on your computer. That changes will happen in that other person's remote uh, place. Okay, now, so such commands or such mouse strokes, okay, they will be handed over to the client software, the telnet client software. Now the telnet client software, it will convert the whatever the commands you entered, okay, into a universally agreed format. Okay, it will convert the commands, or it will convert the mouse strokes into a universally agreed format, known as it is known as NVT format. Okay, NVT format, or it is also known as NVT character. Okay, so this NVT characters are nothing but it is an acronym for network virtual terminal. NVT is an acronym for network virtual terminal. Okay, so the commands or the keystrokes that you enter are converted into NVT format. Okay, they are converted into NVT format. Now this NVT format, okay, now this NVT format, uh, it will be, after converting into NVT format, you will be giving this the telnet client software. It will send the this NVT converted commands into the TCP/IP data link. Okay, so here this is the third step. In third step, first step is terminal will give the commands to the operating system terminal driver, and from terminal driver it will give the commands to operating system. Okay, now operating system will give the commands to telnet client software. Okay, and that is the second step. In the second step, the operating system will hand over the commands to telnet client software, and in the third step, the telnet client software will hand over in telnet client software will convert these commands into network NVT characters or NVT format. That is a universally it is same. Now why does it convert the see? So in third step, after converting, it will hand over the after converting it into NVT format, it will hand over the commands to TCP/IP stack. Okay, so TCP/IP stack, why does it give the to TCP/IP stack means it will convert it into packets. Okay, so let us I will why you are converting the commands to NVT format. Now here, after accepting the commands from your system, after accepting from the commands from your operating system, here telnet client, it is converting it into NVT format or network virtual character, which is universally same. Now why it is so? Why it is so means, because see, your commands whatever you are entering, okay, whatever the operating system is giving the commands to telnet client, it depends upon the machine language of the operating system. Okay, that means machine language of different operating system is different. For example, if I'm using Windows, the machine language is different. If I'm using a if I'm using a Linux operating system, my machine language of that Linux operating system is different. If I am using a what are the other operating system? Mac operating system. So the operating system of that Mac operating system is different. So different operating systems will have different machine languages, different machine languages. Now for compatibility purpose, so for example, if there is no network virtual NVT format, if there is no NVT format, so what happens if I am using a operating system, remote login system also should have same operating system. Okay, if here I am using a, if from here if I am sending commands, okay, the commands are nothing but they are converted into machine language by operating system. Now once this reach the remote server or remote client, okay, so they will be, this will be converted back into those machine language. Okay, so whatever the, if here if there is no network virtual terminal characters or NVT characters, whatever the characters here you are, whatever the machine you are using, whatever the operating system here you are using, same operating system you should be using on the other side. So which is a very it is not a correct way. Okay, why? Because you cannot know what is the type of operating system present on the other side, on the other, it might be a server or a client. You cannot guarantee that you, that server works on your that works on that is installed with a Windows operating system. It can be installed with a Linux operating system, or it can be installed with any other operating system. So this dependency has to be removed. This dependency of operating system, for proper operation of a remote login, the operating system dependency has to be removed. So for that purpose, here you are trying to avoid the operating system dependency by introducing NVT, network virtual terminal. Okay, NVT, that is network virtual terminal. Okay, so that is the thing. Okay, so that is the reason here you have used the network virtual terminal. Okay, so that is the purpose is for compatibility purpose. So compatibility purpose. Now if there is a network, NVT format is universally same. So even if even on the other side, if it is having any different operating system, once it reaches, it will be converted to that compatible thing. Okay, so it need not worry, it need not worry. Okay, what is the other operating system present? Why? Because universally it is same, and once your commands reach the destination, it will be converted to a machine language that is understood by the operating system present at the remote location. Okay, so here whatever the commands you are transmitting, the network virtual NVT characters, that commands or characters will be converted back uh, into a language or into a thing which we will be able to understood by the that operating system. Okay, so that is it. Okay, now here, now here the thing is, after, see, in third step what we have done, the telnet client has converted the commands into NVT characters and it has given to TCP IP stack. Okay, now this TCP IP stack present in the thing, the TCP IP stack, it will convert, it will convert whatever the commands that have, that are given to it, it will convert them into packets, it will convert them into IP packets. Okay, so it will come, it will convert from, it will convert into IP packets. Okay, and this IP packets are then sent through internet from the terminal or from client machine to remote location, from client location to remote location. So this TCP IP stack, after receiving the commands from the telnet client, it will convert the it will take those commands and it will try to divide those commands into packets, and the packets of commands are transmitted through internet, or are transmitted through internet to the remote location. Okay, to the remote location. Okay, so here by using the IP address, and as you are after establishing the TCP connection, it will use that TCP connection, and by using the IP address, whatever the IP packets of NVT characters will be transmitted through internet to the server, okay, to the server. Okay, so after the packets are transmitted, in the next step, okay, that is the packets are transmitted, TCP, whatever the commands that are accepted by the TCP, those packets are transmitted through internet, via internet, to the remote system, okay, to the remote system. Okay, so that is the fourth step. Okay, in fifth step, the TCP IP software present at the remote location or the server location. So here is saying server, but it can also be a client, other client. Okay, so here the TCP IP software present at the remote location or server location, it will collect the it will collect this it will collect the uh, it will collect the whatever the commands that are transmitted, it will collect those things, and then it will send it to the uh, sorry, whatever the TCP, whatever the commands that are there, that is transmitted to the server or remote location, that will be accepted by the TCP IP software present at the remote location. It will be accepted, and it will check the correctness. Okay, as we have discussed while discussing about TCP, uh, TCP nature and operation of TCP. So TCP checks whether the message is correct. Okay, it will check whether the entire packets are received, and also it will, if there are any reordering. Okay, if the packets are not received in order, it will try to arrange the packets in order. First, it will try to arrange the packets in order. Okay, and it will see whether all the packets have received, and after that it will check whether the if there are any errors. Okay, it will check for errors. Okay, so that is it. So, and after that it will hand after doing all these things, after satisfying, after getting the packets, and after checking for after reordering them, and after checking the completeness, and after checking the correctness, then if everything is fine, then this TCP IP present at the remote location, okay, TCP IP present at this remote location will hand over the commands to it will hand over the commands to operating system through telnet server. Okay, it will hand over the commands, it will not directly hand over the commands to operating system. So it will hand over the commands to the telnet server software. Okay, so it will hand over the commands to the telnet server software. Okay, now here what is the operation of telnet server software is, here the commands that are transmitted from your telnet client to server are NVT characters, network virtual terminal characters. So whatever your operating system has entered, the that that commands are converted to universally acceptable NVT characters. Okay, so now here whatever in the sixth step, whatever your TCP is giving the commands to your telnet server, these are nothing but your NVT characters. These are nothing but NVT characters. Now here in telnet server, this NVT characters will be given to the telnet server. Okay, so from TCP IP stack at the server, it will be given to telnet server. Now the telnet server, it will convert the NVT characters into a format that is understood by the operating system. It will convert the NVT format to a format that is understood by your operating system. Okay, it will NVT format to your to a format that is understood by the operating system and the server. Okay, and after that here one thing is, generally your operating system is coded in a such a way that it will accept only inputs from your system. Okay, your operating system is coded in a such a way that it will operate only if you are giving from your inputs from your system, that is the mouse that is connected to your own system, the keyboard that is connected to your own system. Okay, so it will only accept the inputs from your own system. But here the thing is, here you are giving in remote login, you are not directly giving sitting on the computer, or you are not sitting on the remote location, you are giving inputs from somewhere else. Okay, so here generally operating system will not accept the uh, instruction from other place. Okay, it will not accept the instruction from other place. Okay, so the solution for this is, here they have used a pseudo terminal driver. Pseudo terminal driver is nothing but, it pseudo means actually false, that means actually it is not present, but it just creates a illusion to operating system. It just creates a illusion that the commands are given from the this own system. It creates a feeling that the operating feels that the operating system is unable to, is it does not know that the commands are coming from somewhere else. The operating system just feels that the commands or the mouse strokes or the keyboard strokes are coming from the its own system. Okay, so that is the thing. So from pseudo terminal driver, your first the telnet server, after getting the nvt characters and after converting it into the language understandable by the telnet server, or that is the machine language of the telnet server, it will give the commands to the pseudo terminal driver. It will give the pseudo terminal driver, so that now from pseudo terminal driver the commands are given to the operating system. Some pseudo terminal driver, the commands are given to the operating system. Okay, the commands are given to the operating system. Okay, so after given to the operating system, then the operating system will execute those commands. The operating system will be executing those commands. After executing those commands, the operating system will know what is the operation that has to be performed. Okay, so based on your input, suppose if you want to select one of the application, so specific application based upon your commands will be accepted, will be open. Okay, so in that way you are using the remote login. Okay, I think you are able to understand the process of remote login. Okay, so I'll just summarize. Okay, let us just summarize in a very quick way. Okay, so that is, first thing is, from terminal driver you are entering the commands. From terminal driver, from terminal through keyboard and mouse you are entering the commands, and those commands are accepted by the terminal driver present in the at the system that is connected to. Okay, and from this terminal driver, and and from this terminal driver, it will give the commands to operating system. Operating system will not do anything. Why? Because it knows that the commands are not for it to execute. The commands has to be moved to a remote location, so that it will not perform any operation on those commands, and it hands over the commands to telnet client software. And at the telnet client software, it will hand over the as telnet client software, it will take the commands, it will accept the commands, and it will convert it into nvt format. After converting it into nvt format, it will hand over the nvt format characters to tcp ip stack. It will hand over the commands, nvt that are in nvt format to tcp ip stack. Okay, and here the tcp ip stack, it will convert the nvt characters into packets, into ip packets, and it will this tcp ip which will convert the this nvt characters into a tcp ip stack. And the tcp ip stack, from tcp ip stack, those commands, those packets are transmitted to remote location. After transmitting it to the remote location, so that is the fourth step. After transmitting it to the remote location, here at the remote location, the tcp ip stack, it will accept the IP packets that are received. It will accept the IP packets that are received, and it will check for the correctness. It will reorder. After reordering the packets, after checking the completeness, and after checking the correctness of the packets, okay, so that now the entire commands are received, okay. So whatever bits of commands will, all these packets come together, and it will be uh, it, it it will be displayed as a single object, a single command, okay. So these commands will be then handed over to telnet server, okay. So the nvt, now telnet server, it will convert the nvt format into the language that is understood by the machine language that is understood by the operating system present at the server, okay. So whatever the nvt characters that are converted by this client, okay, at the server side, this will perform the opposite operation. It will convert from nvt format to the machine language that is understood by this operating system, okay. But it cannot directly give the commands to the operating system. After converting the commands from nvt format to the machine language of the operating system, it cannot directly hand over the commands to operating system. Why? Because the operating system will not accept the inputs from other systems. It will only accept and it will only execute the commands that are received from its own operating system, so here you are using a pseudo terminal driver. So telnet server software, it will give input to the pseudo terminal driver. Okay. So the pseudo terminal driver will accept the input from the telnet server, and then the pseudo terminal driver will hand over the commands to operating system. It will hand over the commands to operating system. Now at the operating system, the operating system will receive the commands from the pseudo terminal driver, and it assumes that it feels that the commands are entered from its own system, okay. So due to that, based on the commands that it has received from the pseudo terminal driver, it will perform the operation, and that changes can be seen at the remote location, okay. So this is the way in which your remote login works. So I think you are able to follow me, okay. Uh, so this is enough for today's session, and in next session we'll try to look after the DNS related issues, and only 2 or 3 topics are there, and there is no hurry, okay. We will try to complete the other topics in the coming classes, okay. Thank you for your patience.